You're not getting it. It's not clocking to you. It's not clocking to you that I'm standing on business, is it?
What is good, guys? What is good? Good afternoon. Welcome everybody to the stream. If you guys can hear me, por favor, put a 1 in the chat. Got a reaction video for you guys today. Your boy International Zoe made a video. I actually happened to watch it last night, saw some good stuff about it that I want to talk about. I know this is unusual of me to do 2 lives in a row, one last night, one today, but instead of just making a normal video about it, I figured I'd do a live, chop it up with you guys, and kind of go over some of this stuff, my thoughts. It's regarding scopolamine and a famous YouTuber. I would consider him famous. So, we definitely going to get into it. Guys, if you can hear me, please throw a 1 in the chat. Also, I'm going to throw a QR code up here. If you'd like to support the chat, please do so. And any super chats are appreciated. So let me give it a minute for a few more people to get up in here before we get started. Let me see. All right. So today is going to be a review or reaction, I guess, of International Zoe's video. Actually, let me put it this way. That he made regarding scopolamine. So we're going to go over that. And like I said, I'm going to react to it. I think it has some good informational points in there. It's something that I feel kind of strongly to talk about. So let's get this started.
YouTubers tell you gotta know how to move and you gotta be street smart.
This one,
What's up, world? It's your boss, International Zoe, and I know y'all looked at the title, which is the #1 reason why men will continue to get drugged in Colombia. And y'all saying, oh, I heard the story 100 times before. What does he know that we don't already know? Well, I'm gonna get to it in just a minute. But first, I'm gonna say shout out to the Knicks. I usually keep this type of stuff up in my shrine, but they had that Trump dust on them yesterday, and and just to let you know, it's just I'm with Action Jackson. I mean, I go way back to Bernard King. Could y'all see that? I go way back to Bernard King. So even Mark Jackson, shout out to you. I'm not a new Knicks fan. I've been a Knicks fan since the 80s. Back to the story. And the reason why, listen to me tell this story first. And the reason why I want to tell this story, we know stories are used for people to relate to what you're saying, to give an example, and it also helps you remember things. So when a message is delivered in story form, it's a strong way to remember, to decipher, and to intake. Let me tell you a story that relates to why I say this, that the #1 reason why men will continue to get drugged in Colombia. And at the end, I will tell you my reasons. I don't know if y'all want to, but let's do this, because I don't know if people do it that much. Let's talk about the drug scopolamine. Scopolamine is a natural alkaloid found in plants such as the Magnesia, borrachero, datura, henbani, and other nightshade family plants. It has deep historical use in the Americas and elsewhere, including spiritual ritual use, but medically it became important after it was isolated in 1880 and later used for anesthesia, for childbirth, twilight sleep, motion sickness, nausea, and eye procedures. In Colombia, burundanga became known for criminal use decades ago. One medical review says scopolamine-related criminal poisonings has been reported in South America since the 1950s. Colombia's recent crime pattern, the current pattern is usually victims meet someone in a bar, club, restaurant, hotel, taxi, or dating app and get set up. The drug is slipped into a drink, The victim becomes disorientated, compliant, unconscious, or has memory loss. Then they are robbed, taken to ATMs, or worse. The U.S. Embassy warned in 2023 that the sedative, including scopolamine, are used in Colombia to incapacitate and rob victims. I've been going to Colombia for many years, and I have visited many different cities in Colombia. I would assume that the most popular cities are Cartagena, Medellin, Bogota, and Cali, Colombia. For tourists, those are the places I would believe that most of the scopolamine druggings happen, and whatever happens beyond the drugging. I had gone to Cali, Colombia because I was chasing the Cabo Gata. I met a brother who films the horse show that they have in Colombia, which is very popular, and he made.
So I want to say now, real quick, if you have not seen what he's talking about, this is a huge, huge horse festival that happens in the coffee region. It's where it's the most popular. I do believe they have one in Pereira, but they also do them in the like smaller pueblos as well. And I'm not sure what month it is. I think it's either this month or next month that they have it. I was going to plan on going because I was planning on being in Pereira this month. But obviously, since I started this whole social circle thing, I have kind of pushed that back and am now just staying here in Medellin for now. But I may still actually try to get out there if it's coming up soon. You also have the beauty festival that's going to be, I believe, this month here in Medellin. That was another thing that I was debating on. Should I stay here to try to get content on or not? Which is basically everything beauty. So all the girls that are into hair, makeup, nails, modeling, photography, all that stuff will all be in like one huge expo, essentially in one building. So you will get the most beautiful girls that would be there. But talking about going back into what he was talking about, this horse festival, you may have seen a clip of it. I don't have any. And let me see if I can bring it up real quick, just so you guys get an idea. Let me see, horse in Colombia. See TikTok. Not sure if this is it. But essentially, there are a ton of beautiful women at these like this horse festival. Let me see here. See if I can share it real quick. Let me mute the sound. Por unos ojos bonitos, alma y vida diera yo, y si son como los tuyos, alma, vida y corazón. Ay, mírame y bésame, por unos ojos bonitos. Or here or while you're in Colombia. So let me close that, get back to this.
Videos. I met him at the fashion show in Medellin. And he approached me, said, hey, I watch your videos. I saw you comment on one of my videos. I said, what video? He's the guy that does these beautiful slow motion videos with these beautiful Colombian women riding horses. It's a culture there. So he told me the next big one was going to be in some small pueblo. So I went to Cali, and there are some in Cali, but they were very small. And we drove we drove through a few cities to get to this small pueblo to see this Cabogata show. It's somewhere on my channel. But anyway, when I got to Cali, I called a friend, and because my Airbnb wasn't ready yet, you know, usually check-in's at 3. He said, yeah, stop by my crib. You know, this is someone that I've known in the past from Cartagena, but he now lived in Cali, Colombia. So we did a few things, we hung out, and of course, I check into my hotel, whatever, and you know, I hit the Tinder, I hit the dating apps. I know people say don't hit the dating apps, but I hit Tinder and spoke to.
So one thing also as well, really quick, I wanted to touch on is, of course, we all say don't use Tinder because with Tinder, you probably have about a 95 to 98% chance of getting scoped. Now, are there normal women on there? You could say yes, but generally those women are probably going to be in their 30s and 40s, which most guys are not chasing. Most guys are chasing the 18, 19, 20, you know, the young ones. They're chasing the jovens, as they say in Spanish. And, you know, it's a very large chance that you will run into a girl that's going to scope you. And I understand why guys use Tinder, because if you were coming here on a short stay, you know, you're only here a week or less, it is probably not very likely that you are going to have the highest success rate of just trying to pull a normal girl and get her to go out on a date. Now, is it possible? Yes. But more than likely, because women are very flaky here, you can go in the mall, cold approach a girl, you get a number, and then you hit her up and then she just doesn't respond. Or you try to talk to a girl that you meet kind of randomly out, you try to invite her out and she's busy or she got to work. And, you know, if you're here during the week, it can be even less because a lot of these girls are super busy. They work long hours. So generally the girls that are almost always readily available are going to be the girls on Tinder. So I understand why guys turn to Tinder, because it is kind of a sure thing of, all right, I can get a girl out, you know, fairly quickly. But you got to understand that you are taking a huge risk when it comes to that.
A few women, and I had arranged a date with a woman. And they have this really nice nightlife district in Cali, Colombia. So my boy also has a car. I told him, you know, would you mind picking me up to meet her and being there just to have my back, you know, to check her out. Also, let me tell you something about my friend. My friend is one of, if not the leading scopolamine catchers, if you want to say that, in Colombia. He makes extensive videos about finding women who've already drugged men and bringing them to justice. Meaning that he has connects with the police, he has connects with the underworld, and he does a whole elaborate scheme of finding the girl on the dating apps, setting up a date with the girl on the dating apps, meeting with the girls on the dating apps, and getting them in a position in an apartment or whatever.
And I've watched a lot of and it's like very, very entertaining them out.
He comes with I have some. I asked of her friend. He comes and 3 other girls. So now in one house.
it's never a recipe for success when you have more women than guys and you don't know every woman that's there. You haven't hung out with them before. Like, you don't know them well. You know, when there's some randoms, it always leads to something negative happening generally.
Now me, I'm entertaining the girl that I was on a date with and a little bit her friend. And the other guy is entertaining his girlfriend and the 3 friends that they brought in. So, you know, I even do a live, we having fun, we are drinking, some people were smoking. And as the night went on, this or that, eventually I escorted my guests downstairs and put them in the Uber to go home. I returned upstairs. Now there are 3 guys and 4 women. Now my boy is more like, he's not feeling those other 3 girls. So he goes in the room to go to sleep. Me, I've already had a good time. I'm not really feeling them either. So I put myself in the Uber and I go back to my Airbnb.
So my guess is, more than likely, if he wasn't feeling the girls and OB Land wasn't feeling the girls, those girls must have been busted. And generally, those are the girls who end up being the ones who are drugging and robbing people. You know, most of these guys you see, it's 2 things that I've always seen as a common denominator with all the guys that are getting drugged and robbed. It's the first one is that they're living in a place that is super, I'm guessing super cheap, because almost all these videos I see guys walking upstairs, meaning they're staying in a place that doesn't have an elevator. Secondly, they are staying in a place without 24-hour security. This is almost like every video. Maybe a few they were staying in a place with security, but generally 9 times out of 10, they're staying in a place that didn't have 24-hour security, and they're staying in what I would consider a cheaper building or older building, because they're generally walking upstairs to get to an apartment. So that's another thing. So you have those, you have those 2 things. And then the third thing is that generally these girls are not very good looking. Now, of course, girls who are super pretty don't have to scope niggas because they get everything that they want. They got sponsors, they're getting flown out, and more than likely they don't need to be on Tinder. And if she is really attractive and she is on Tinder, she's a working girl, or more than likely she's there to drug you and rob you. But normal, really, really pretty girls who are like the 8, 9s, and 10s, they don't need to be on Tinder. And a lot of these guys are, you know, taking home these mid girls. Not saying there's anything wrong with that, but you see the girls that they're getting drugged by, and you're like, how? You know, it's like the low hanging fruit. It's women that you probably wouldn't normally talk to in your own country, let alone here in Medellin or in Colombia. But for some reason, guys get desperate, you know, got to get that nut off or whatever it is. And it's just like they settle for the most mid, not good looking women. And of course, shit happens.
So the other guy with his girl take these 3 women back to his place. Now, the next morning, we were scheduled to drive quite a few hours finding the horse show, the cabalgata. So we went to Pareja. We went to a few cities to the town. But when we get up and call him and go to pick him up, actually, we calling him and we go to pick him up. He's not answering. We go up to the house. Well, I'm still down in the car, and my friend finds out that he and his girlfriend got drugged by these 3 girls. They wake up naked, their phones are gone, their money is gone, they drain their...
If you waking up naked, they must have been doing some freaky shit. I mean, for some reason, I don't know why that's the MO, but for some reason, everybody always wakes up either in boxers, at least all the guys, they all wake up in boxers or naked. You know, it's like they stealing clothes and shit. Like, damn.
Account, a whole litany of things. And he's like, yo, we still gotta go. So, you know, reluctantly, all messed up and everything, they still come with us on this journey. And you know, they go through the thing of trying to unlock their iPads and phones and get to their money, and they empty their accounts and everything. And I'm saying this story to tell you that here I am with the #1 scopolamine guy in Colombia, right? And let me also say this. The guy had been scoped before. So he'd been scoped before, right? And his girlfriend had been scoped before by a Colombian man, although she's like an American Colombian. So both of these individuals had been drugged before. And I'm in the house with the #1 scope catcher in Colombia. They still got drugged by these girls.
So the thing is, what I want to say as well is that this happens to locals as well. It's not just happening to foreigners. So, you know, you hear about it more with foreigners because it's more, you know, international news. It's more likely to get views and picked up versus it happening to foreigners. I have seen some videos of just random cases of like a girl walking down the street, some old woman talks to her and, you know, blew something in her face, or they'll try to hand you like a pamphlet or something like that, and it has the scopolamine on it. Now, I don't understand like how, if it comes in contact with your skin, just like your hand or something, it would, you know, give you the influence, because 9 times out of 10, generally it's ingested. It's either through a drink or through food or something like that, but you have to kind of ingest it through your mouth for the most part, or breathe it in for it to be, you know, for it to take its effect. Now, I have heard of it being blown in people's faces, but that does, to me, I've never actually heard of it happening to a foreigner that way. And it seems very risky for the other person to not be affected by it as well, because if they're blowing it, there's a possibility they may breathe it in as well. So the most common way it generally is done is it's put into a drink or it's put into food.
I'm saying all this to say that there is no one that can help you from getting drugged in Colombia except you. No matter how many YouTubers tell you, you gotta know how to move and you gotta be street smart. And I'm with the #1 scope guy in the country, and he don't know that he didn't get drugged, but he doesn't know that these girls were planning to drug someone, or maybe all of us, I don't know. So there is, and let me give you let me just say something else, and this has to do with my brother.
So before he gets into this next part, I just want to talk about that real quick. So it is one of the fears that you constantly do have to have here with living in, I would definitely say Medellin, maybe Cartagena, maybe even Cali, the major cities. I think once you get into these smaller pueblos and smaller cities, it isn't as prevalent and you have to worry about it less. But it is something, unfortunately, that you do always have to have in your mind. And no matter how, you know, paranoid you're trying to be, if you have girls in your place and you're hanging out with girls or whatever, you cannot be on guard 24/7. You can't always watch everything. And there's been times where I've gone out and I've made, you know, little mistakes. When I first got here, you know, for example, I remember I went out on a date with a girl to Bora Bora, got a bottle. It was just us two. We happened to be sitting next to a group of guys. And, you know, one of the guys was like dancing, whatever, and gave me a shot. And now, of course, in, you know, year 3 here, I would not take that shot. But back then it was like my second month here. I think I was still fairly new. I took the shot and, you know, whatever, and didn't think anything about it. But because I was still so accustomed to how we are in the US, you know, people are friendly, whatever. Sometimes if they have a table or a bottle, they'll give you a shot if you seem cool, whatever. It's, you know, it's nothing to be paranoid or worry about. But here it is something that you have to worry about. And, you know, I didn't realize at the moment, like, damn, that could have fucked up. Who knew if the girl I was with would have been working with them or whatever? That would have been super elaborate for them to come in and buy a table as well. And then, you know, to drug one guy, but you never know. So yeah, you can't be on guard all the time, and it is something, unfortunately, that you do kind of have to keep in the back of your mind. And it's one of the questions when I ask guys in consultations, if you were considering moving to Colombia, just in general, not just Medellin, but Colombia, are you okay with always having to look over your shoulder? Some guys aren't. And it gets to a point here where you get super comfortable and because maybe you've been here a few years and nothing's happened. So you kind of relax a little bit and you let your guard down. But it is something that you always have to remember, is that you kind of always have to be on guard. You always have to be suspicious of people and what their intentions may be, no matter how good they may seem. There's been a lot of girls who've played the long game, where I've heard, I don't know anybody personally, but I've just heard stories of, they're dating a guy for 3 months and then they scoped him, or a guy, went on a date with a girl about 5 or 6 times and he still got scoped. Now, granted, with this story, he still met the girl on a dating app on Bumble, but he still got scoped after 5 or 6 dates. So some girls here will play the long game. And as I said, this does happen to locals as well. A girl that I met when I first started coming here, she had a friend. He's Colombian, he's Paisa. He met up with a girl who's Colombian, who's Paisa. And, he went back to his place. He thought they were about to, go to Pound Town. And, next thing he remembers, at least what he told her, is he was licking nipples, and that's all he remembered. And he woke up, the next day in his boxers and couldn't remember anything. So how they're putting it on their skin or on their body, and they're not being affected by it, who knows? Like, I remember at one point, once I heard that story, I was so paranoid. I was like, any chick that's coming over, she got to take a shower before we do anything. But yeah, that is something that you have to, be prepared to constantly be in a mindset of being on guard and kind of always questioning things. Like I said, you do get to a point to where you relax a little bit and you will let your guard down. But as soon as you start getting comfortable and you start thinking like, oh, nothing has happened to me in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, or whatever, bam, that's when something more than likely will happen. It happened with me last year in the Feria de Flores festival. I ended up getting my phone stolen. Now, granted, this was my fault 100%. Everybody always says no dar papaya. I gave papaya, and this isn't like a victim blaming thing. Obviously, people shouldn't be robbing people or pickpocketing people, but like I said, it's my fault because when I was with my ex, we went to Ciclovia. It was a Sunday. Afterwards, I was like, hey, let's just go straight from the Ciclovia down to the Feria de Flores festival. And I was wearing very loose exercising shorts. And I had my phone in my pocket. And more than likely, someone behind me saw it and someone did like a distraction. And I bumped into somebody. I thought I bumped into my girl because she was standing right next to me. But because of all what was going on in front of me, I didn't really pay attention to who I bumped into. And at that point, they took my phone out of my pocket. And then, not until about maybe 5 to 8 minutes later, I'm like halfway up the road, and my girl's like, "Oh yeah, take a photo of me." I go to reach for my phone's not in my pocket. Now I still have my my burner phone. So I jump on there. My other phone is Android. So I jump on there, go to Find Hub, and I'm trying to track my phone, and it keeps moving around, the festival. And of course I couldn't find it. It's just too many people, too loud. And ultimately me tracking it, it ended up in El Centro, which is of course where all stolen phones go, or at least for the most part, for someone to sell it. So it's unfortunate, but right when you start getting too comfortable is when stuff happens. Now, what I should have did is I should have went home, changed into some pants or whatever, and then went. But it was just me being too relaxed and not thinking about what I'm showing to other people.
The Flyboy way. It's nothing against him.
Let me.
You know what I mean? That's my brother with. And let me give you another, let me just say something else. And this has to do with my brother Flyboy away. It's nothing against him, you know what I mean? That's my brother, we're cool. But this guy who's the #1 scope guy, he sees Flyboy away is in Colombia with a girl doing a live. He sees the girl that he's been looking for a while to capture. So he calls me because he knows that Flyboy away, I know Flyboy away. I call Flyboy away and I say, hey, you with a scope queen, be careful. My boy want to know where you are, blah, 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 because he's trying to catch you. You know, he doesn't participate in that capturing this girl and all of that. But I'm saying all that because even a veteran traveler to Colombia, someone who speaks Spanish, and by the way, my boy speaks Spanish well too. He was with a woman who had drugged men in the past, and he didn't know.
So I want to say something about that really well. I'm not sure if Flyboy Way is in this live, you know, or not. I was on a panel with Flyboy Way, and also I have watched some of his lives when he was recently in Bogota. I don't know when this story takes place, if this happens to be with the, you know, one of the Venezuelan girls he was with when he was here. You know, I don't know what year this story he's talking about takes place, and when, you know, when Flyboy Way came into this story, or when they saw him with it. Now, the last live that Flyboy had when he was in Bogota, he was meeting girls off Tinder. And I messaged him in the chat and I said, yo, my guy, you need to be careful with Tinder. And he was like, no, you know, I get it. I'm good. You know, essentially he knows how to find them. So I happened to see a live that he did, and I want to bring this up, that he had. This was in like 2024, where he was trying to basically say, this is how you spot a scope queen. And I'm gonna play this real quick.
Remember what I told you guys about the face, right? What did I tell you guys at the beginning? I said, hey, if you're on Tinder in any country, well, for now, let's say Colombia. If you're on Tinder in Colombia and you realize the woman has one picture with her whole face showing, even though she has the top part cut off, or at the next picture, she has something in front of her face and glasses on. The next picture, she's looking away. The next picture, she has a phone in front of her face. The next picture, she has the phone in front of her face. And the last picture, she's looking away from the camera. This is sign. These are signs that is a chance that this woman may scope you. In other words, this woman may drug you. Is my opinion, my perspective, from my analysis of traveling around the world, dating multiple women from different places around the world. This is how in Cartagena. Remember what I.
So to say all this, I want to bring this up because, hold on real quick. Let me switch back over to this. So I want to bring this up because, and this is nothing against Flyboy Way. Like I said, I'm cool with the dude. I got nothing against him, but even him, you think you know what a scopolamine girl looks like online, but in reality, you have no idea. A scopolamine girl can be any girl. Doesn't matter, you know, what she looks like, where she comes from. She could be anybody. And they know that majority of the guys on Tinder are foreigners. So that's going to be their hunting ground. And like I said, when I reached out to Flyboy in the chat and I was like, yo, you need to be careful. I don't even use Tinder. I'd rather meet girls through Instagram. And of course, who knows? You know, I may randomly meet a girl on Instagram who's a scope queen as well. I wouldn't know, but you're more likely to meet normal women through Instagram or through a social circle or social settings or even out in public than you are through Tinder or the dating apps. Like I said, they know that guys are coming here that, you know, want to meet women quickly. So that's where they hunt at. And, you know, the crazy thing is like I said, I'm pointing this out, like Flyboy Way is very seasoned in Colombia, but clearly he, you know, Zoe is saying here that he was with the scope queen and didn't know it. And he's going to say, like I said, I've already watched this. This isn't a blind reaction, but he's basically going to say, like, for whatever reason, she didn't scope him, but she could have, and he thought he knew what a supposedly scope queen looks like. And he was basically hanging out with one.
Now, she didn't drug him for whatever reason, but he was with a woman who had drugged other men in the past. Now, her reasons for not drugging him, maybe she drugged somebody before and she regrets it. Maybe she's guilty. Maybe he treated her so good that she felt like she couldn't do it to him. Whatever the reason is, he was with a woman that he had just met that he didn't know. None of us are gonna know anything about a woman that we meet overseas. But he was with someone all day that drugged people in the past. He didn't make it out because he's wiser than anybody else. You know what I mean? Because he was out with her, dancing, bar, everything. Maybe it was just that she retired from that game. Maybe he treated her too nice. Whatever the reasons, no matter who you are, if you are in Colombia, there is a possibility that you could get drugged. Now, you can narrow, which all these guys will say, you can narrow your possibilities by not going out, and not meeting people you don't know, and not drinking around women, and staying in the Airbnb that has a guard downstairs and they got to give up. All of that is great. But you could still get drugged in a taxi. You could get drugged by a male that lives in Colombia who also participates in that trade of drugging people. You could meet women who are you perceive to be as genuine, good girls. Not necessarily that you're going for the girls in the street life. You could be focusing on, quote unquote, a good girl. I wasn't there for as tourism. I was there to meet a girlfriend, a wife, and still get drugged.
So I'm not sure if you guys have heard of it. There was a situation, there was a white dude, and this happened, I think it was last year, where he was in Provenza and he happened to cold approach a girl who was in Provenza. Now, it would have been a little bit of a red flag to me that this girl is in Provenza in like the middle of the day, which is when he met her. And she had a dog with her. Or no, the first time he met her, she didn't have a dog. It was just a cold approach. He got her number, whatever. And then he asked to meet up with her another time. They met up. But when they met up the second time, they met up in Provenza and she had a dog. They went out. They, did their little date or whatever. And she was like, oh, I need to take my dog home and drop him off. But I would, I still want to continue to hang out with me. Will you go with me? So the guy not thinking anything of it. He's like, oh, she had a little French bulldog, whatever. Cool. I'll go with her to take the dog home. So she goes and, she's like, she goes in the house and she's like, oh, you can come in. And if you want, meet my family or whatever it was, she said to get him to come in. So he goes in the house, she closed the door, she goes upstairs or whatever. And two guys come running down en masse with like guns or whatever, or something. I don't know if it was guns, knives or something like that. It's been a while since I heard this story, so I don't remember it entirely 100%. But she, essentially the guys tried to, were trying to either kidnap him or rob him, to extort him and get money out of him. And he ended up having to like fight his way out, literally, and, end up running down the street like all beat up and stuff. But, this is just from cold approaching a girl. So there is always that, kind of, and this has nothing to do with drugging. To me, this sounds more like a kidnapping. It was going to be one of those cases where they were going to try to drain his cards or whatever. She may have just happened to be one of those people that know somebody, that's bad, or know a few guys that's bad, and was like, oh, I just met this gringo yesterday. Let's try to, get him or whatever. So it's shit like that you got to worry about, unfortunately. So let's see here.
So the number one reason why men will continue to get drugged in Colombia is because they drug people in Colombia. That is the number one reason why men will continue to get drugged. And probably some of the only things that can save you is that you either don't go to Colombia or you don't be around people who you don't know, you know, because it has never happened to me, honestly, but I don't charge.
And really quickly too, there was a guy who lived in Cartagena. I don't know his name. He got drugged and robbed, not for everything, but he got drugged and robbed. And he ended up leaving Colombia completely and ended up going to Thailand. And now he's, you know, a social media influencer there in Thailand and opened up business. But he completely abandoned Colombia afterwards. Now, after he got drugged, he still said, you know, like, I still love Colombia, XYZ, whatever. But what happened with him is that it got put into his food. He has some girls. And here's the thing, too. I want to make sure that I make this point super clear to you guys. Generally, the druggings always happen when you make exceptions to the rules. All the rules that you hear, you know, don't meet girls off of dating apps. Don't stay in places without 24-hour security. You know, and all the other things that you hear, don't do. As soon as you start saying F it, you know, you make an exception, that's when this shit happens. And with this guy, it was the same thing that happened with him. He started making exceptions and it ended up happening to him. One of the things was, it was a girl he didn't know that well. And she was like, oh, I want to come over and cook for you, which is, don't get me wrong, like Colombian women will cook for you, but generally like on a first time you're meeting them or you don't really know them that well, they're not offering to come over to your house and cook for you. This was him making an exception. So, and of course, you know, with cooking, if you're happen to be chilling on a couch, watching some TV on your phone or whatever, you're not standing there right next to the girl while she's cooking food. So of course, shit can be thrown into your food and you not know. So, you know, it's just, don't make any exceptions to any rules.
Chalk it up to the fact that I know how to move and it could never happen to me, or I'm bigger than it, because I have I'm a YouTuber, so people recognize me and people talk to me. And there are guys who I have met who speak Spanish, who live in Colombia. And they said, man, it only takes a second. It only takes a second for you to look away or something, and boom. No one is going to have their guard up 24/7, even if that's your intention. There were definitely times that I'm on guard and I still could look back 5 minutes later and be like, wow, that could have been an opportunity for someone to slip something in my water. So it's not even the fact that you don't drink alcohol. They could slip it in your water. They say they can put it on their breast. They say they can blow it in your face. So it will continue to happen as long as they continue to drug people in Colombia or anywhere else. It's your boss, International. So.
All right. So, hold on. Let's close this. All right. So that is the thing. It's unfortunate, but yeah, in Colombia, they always are going to, you know, I think as long as there are airplanes bringing men to Colombia, there will be women that are drugging people. As I said before, I do know that some of these girls, I don't think a lot of these girls are just doing it independently. Some maybe they are, but generally they are working with guys that are helping them or assisting them in some way. Most of all the Obi-Land videos that I've watched, usually they have like a driver or something like that. So, and this is even, you know, almost happened to a few other YouTubers as well. I think I want to say the Homies Hub may have had a situation where, you know, he was close to something like that. But generally, these all stem from, you know, guys meeting girls off Tinder. That is, like I said, it's generally the common denominator when it comes into this. So, you know, if you want to be safe here, the most dangerous thing to me, the most dangerous thing is what most men are coming here for, and that's women. If you're not coming here for women, if you purely are just coming here for a bonding trip with your boy or your guys, and you plan on going to do some sightseeing, going out to eat, a few restaurants or whatever like that, and you're not dealing with any women at all, you have a good chance of nothing happening to you. Obviously, with the flight attendant, there was something that happened with him meeting people and going places that he shouldn't have with strangers. But to my understanding with him, he was gay. He was in a gay bar and met some guys at that gay bar, and then they decided to go to another club, which is always a huge no. You don't go random places with people that you don't know. And another story I heard, it happened at Seven. Seven is for those of you who don't know what Seven is a nightclub here. It is located in like the Itagüí / Envigado area. I want to say more so Itagüí area nightclub. I want to pull this up just so I can show you guys so you know. No, that's not it. Let's see here. Share. So Seven is an after-hour spot. It is generally open from, I want to say, like 10 to like 6 or 7 in the morning. Is where a lot of people go after, Provenza. A lot of stuff in Provenza starts to close. You still want to stay out. But in this area, not too far from there, there's another little strip mall that has a La Chula in it and a few other clubs. Now, I'm normally not out that late. I'm old. I usually like to be in the house by like 12 a.m. Or at least I may not be asleep by 12 a.m., but I at least want to be at home chilling, either in my bed, on the couch or something at that time. I'm usually not trying to be outside in the street. Normally around that time, I start getting extremely tired physically, and I just don't like to be out super late. But there has been occasions where I've gone out with a friend and he wants to stay out late. And I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm going to just stay out with you to make sure you're good. So, we end up going to one of these like after hour spots. I would say I would prefer you go to the La Chula and Itagüí if you're going to go to an after hour spot. But in Seven, from what I've heard, the quality in there isn't that great. And you get a lot of the working girls that go there afterwards as well, because they just know it's an after hour spot. And, a lot of people go there afterwards. I'm not saying this because I'm promoting sex tourism. Let me get that clear. Let me put that out there before I get deported. But, I'm just saying like that tends to be the crowd there. Not saying it because I'm saying go there and go look for it there. I'm just saying so in advance what to expect. You don't go there thinking, oh, I'm going to just be meeting some regular girls. But guys have gone there and have met girls from there and gotten scoped. It's usually, and this is not even Tinder. This is just meeting girls in person. But it's the type of crowd that, that hangs out there. I've never been, but like I said, I've just heard it's an after hours spot. So it can happen to you almost anywhere, but more than likely, the main common denominator as well is just always trying to bring someone back to your place the same night you meet them. Another story that I heard, it happened to someone in Provenza. They met a girl at the Mogello Club. I forget or I don't know how to say it. But it's the club, the one that's by Blessed, that's like blue hair, whatever. Some guy met some girl there. She was by herself. And, he was like, essentially just, come back with me to my place. And actually, this happened with a friend of mine. So they were staying in a penthouse and he met a random girl there. They went back. My friend had a girl So he wasn't, trying to entertain anybody. The other guys they didn't have girls, but I guess they all kind of stayed up and hung out and drank with the girl, whatever. Next morning, they all, are basically saying that they got robbed because the girl drugged them and took off with their stuff. Now, my boy was asleep with his girl in his room and his door was locked or whatever, but they got some phones stolen and stuff like that. So in general, it's just this whole random girl thing, which is what tends to get everybody in trouble. So yeah, man. Let me go through these comments. Let me see. It says the information did shock me. I'm not sure what information you're talking about. I want to predict which girl it is. It was a girl. It was with a girl from Barranquilla. It was a girl from Barranquilla who was the scope queen. Flyboy, good. He knows how to move. Zoe here, damn. No, I don't think Zoe is in Colombia at the moment. That was just a video he made. I don't know where he is currently at the moment. And no rules when dealing with these streetwalkers. Yeah, that is the truth. So yeah, that is something that I wanted to basically just, react to real quick. Put my thoughts out there because it's a lot of guys who are getting scoped and robbed, and hopefully this video, I'm gonna leave this live up. Normally I don't leave my lives up. I'm more of the type of person that kind of feels like, if you're not there in the moment to enjoy it, soak up the knowledge, then it is what it is. You missed it. Hopefully you catch the next one. But because this is about a very common, popular topic and something that happens here very frequently, I do plan on leaving this live up for people to watch it later. And yeah, if you guys got any questions or anything before I hop up off of here, I want to, open it up to you guys just in case. And the thing is, it's unfortunate, but as they say, it's a new fool born every day. And granted, it's got to be at least hundreds of pieces of content out there regarding getting scoped. And the last Obi-Land video I saw, the dude did exactly what I said. Is he started making exceptions. He was like, "Oh man, I know that I know that you're not supposed to go on Tinder, you're not supposed to do this," and he still did the shit anyways. So and ended up getting scoped. And I don't want to say he was surprised by it, but it's like, damn, dude, like you knew and you still went and did the shit anyways. So let me see if I can pull it up.
This is just one of the faces of the kind of people responsible for the deaths of Ms. Sarah, but she goes under different names on Tinder, and she is a face
for another vacation, another unassuming trip to Medellin. I've been there several times, and just coming for the holidays to check things out.
Typical of his time in Medellin, the man at the center of this story, Mike, would usually spend his days visiting expat friends in Medellin, having lunch and walking around the Provenza area. As a person who had visited Medellin several times, he felt extremely comfortable, often considering and reflecting on what life could be like if he relocated full-time into the city.
Life in the States is more stiff, I guess you could say. You go out, you overpaying for things, you're trying to keep up with the status quo. Everybody wants to be seen, they living through Instagram and those types of things. But the life abroad, my experiences abroad, they've been more authentic, more real. where I feel like my work is paying off for me. You know what I mean? You know, I never really wanted to, I guess, you know, to pay for play. So I embrace, you know, trying to meet people on the street or whatever the case was. And for whatever reason, I ended up on one of these social media apps, one of these dating apps. And it's probably more so out of boredom. I had heard horror stories about, you know, people going on these dating apps and meeting women and getting drugged and robbed. And I never thought it would really happen to me.
And that's the thing, man. Everybody thinks that it'll never happen to them, especially the guys that's been here for a few times, and you feel like, you know, oh, I've met tons of girls on Tinder and it's never happened. It only takes one. It only takes one. And you heard horror stories, but you still decided to do it anyways. And, you know, as he says, it was out of boredom. You're sitting at home doing nothing. And that can be your biggest enemy, is that, you know, that being bored and just, I need some entertainment. Like, you feel the need to have a woman in order to entertain you.
Because obviously I'm a veteran. I've been coming here for years with no problems, no issues. So I didn't think much of the situation. Again,
one thing though I gotta say about this dude Obi-Land, this nigga has like Netflix quality production when it comes to his videos.
you know, I didn't approach it with any apprehension. I matched with a young lady named Laura, who actually, come to find out, her name was actually Sarah. And everything was smooth. We matched. We spoke for a few.
I just wanted to play that little part real quick, but yeah, man, is the make any exceptions? It's, you know, being bored. That's when everybody started getting caught up. Let me get back to these comments. I would think it was the young Venezuelan girl, or it could have been one of the girls on his 3v1 team up. You never know who it is, which is the crazy thing. He is right, though. That's why I left Colombia for Brazil. Have you done your research on the smaller cities? So my plan was actually to be in Pereira as of now, and in that whole coffee region area. And honestly, of course, it's not something you hear about happening there. I've only heard of one story of it happening to an Asian guy, but he was coming from Medellin and he was going to Pereira, and he happened to meet some guy on the bus, which I mean, I guess you can chalk it up to he's Asian, but he essentially took a cookie from a random guy. The guy was like, oh, eat this, eat this, eat this, or whatever. So he ate the cookie and then basically got drugged through the cookie and, you know, got robbed that way. And he was on his way to Pereira. And he essentially did like a press statement with the Pereira police. And they were like very adamant about being like, we want you to say that it did not happen here. Like, they were like, you know, we wanted to be clear that you didn't get drugged and robbed here in Pereira. So, you know, I don't know how strict or how, you know, crazy they are about that out there, but obviously it's different mindset. It's just, everything is different when it comes to, you know, being down towards the coffee region or just even some of these smaller cities. Now, if somebody was really trying to find a good girl, where you would go is the pueblos. But, you know, someone said it last night on the live that I was on last night. You would get bored in a pueblo super quick. You probably couldn't spend more than a day or two there because it ain't really much to do. In the center of every pueblo is a church, and it's just going to be, you know, very slow life there. But a lot of guys, of course, aren't trying to do that. Women and what to expect from you. I'm not sure what you mean by that, or if that's just included in that last question. But obviously, it's different. So, for example, right, with the social circle, everything I've been doing with that, I'm not sure if anybody's new to this live. It's your first live that I've been to, or if you watched any of my previous videos or not. But obviously, I've been here trying to build a social circle and kind of work through that, trying to document it, but ultimately, build a social circle of just normal people or normal women, shall we say. And with that experience, what I found is that not only are women actually willing to pay for things, so, we're kind of fed this narrative, oh, we're the foreigners, their culture here, that, guys have to pay for everything. And as foreigners, we just feel like we, we got to pay for everything. But on the contrary, actually, a lot of women are willing to pay for stuff. It's just when you are starting off with the idea of it's a date, you're romantically interested from the beginning, then it's just like, oh, okay, then you're going to be the one responsible for paying for everything. But I actually have one of the girls that I've gone out with a few times. She's actually invited me to go to movies. Obviously, I've invited her and a few other girls to movies for a few times, but they've offered to, buy snacks and stuff like that. Normally, in my experience here, when you are just only dating a girl, not very many of them are really trying to pay for everything. They just let you, be the one to pay for everything. So, that's just typically how it is. So let me get to the comments here. They drug people in Brazil too. Actually, they do it all over South America. So I'm going to say, yes, that's a true statement. They do it in Brazil. It has been happening a little bit more there. I've even heard stories of, which is crazy. There were I think it was 3 people. It was 2 girls and 1 guy. They actually left Colombia, went to DR, and were drugging tourists in DR. And they end up getting caught. But it happens, of course, all over Latin America, but it's certain places that you just don't have to, worry about that. For example, if you go to Lima, Peru, you don't got to worry about getting drugged at all. If you go to Uruguay, if you go to Argentina, if you go to Paraguay, if you go to Chile, if you go to Nicaragua, there's a possibility, yeah, it may happen, but it's a lot worse here in Colombia because the actual plant that what scopolamine is made out of, that plant is native here to Colombia, so yeah, that's why it happens here more than anywhere else, because the plant is grown here. It's from here in Colombia, versus it has to be shipped and kind of brought to other countries in order for it to happen. So that is that. What's up, T-Mac, man? Glad to see you made it to the live. I'm not sure if you've been here the whole time or you've been you just got in, but I'm going to basically end this live here soon. El Salvador, not sure exactly what about El Salvador. So I can answer your question, or, I'm not sure if you're just making a statement there. You want to answer that or add to that before I jump off? T-Mac, man, appreciate you as always with the $10 super chat. Man, that's one thing I got to say about this brother, man. He does support his favorite creators, or he supports, creators. So definitely got to give a big shout out to T-Mac. Appreciate you, my brother. That is going to be my lunch money for today. I'm going to go out and get some lunch today. Appreciate you. T-Mac says, my good friend Andrea from Love Crossing Borders did a stream with research and showed many incidences of druggings all over the world, including Southeast Asia. Yeah, like I said, it's definitely, it's something that can happen anywhere, but you're not hearing about it as much through when you go to countries like Mexico or, like I said, Uruguay or Paraguay or Argentina, it can happen anywhere. I think it's only Colombia and maybe, Rio, where you got to have your guard up a little bit more depending on how where you meet girls at. But by far, it is the worst here in Colombia, of course. Safer than those places you mentioned. Oh, safer than all those places you mentioned. Yeah, of course. And I think El Salvador has that super like strict president. I'm not sure if it's El Salvador or which country it is, but they got like one of the craziest like prisons where the lights are on 24 hours, and it's become like now one of the most safest countries. I forget what it was. Andre. But yeah, man, that's it. I just wanted to get on really quick and do this reaction. Like I said, this live was no shade or no shots at Flyboy Way. Obviously, he's going to move how he wants to move. And the other thing too, which I want to add to this real quick, is that us as YouTubers, I think because everyone sees the numbers you get when you have women on your lives, or not lives, but on your videos. So I think as YouTubers, there's more pressure for us as well to get out there and like find women to get on camera. And obviously Tinder is one of the more easiest places because those girls, for some reason, just tend to be the ones that are always more willing to be on camera versus just regular, random girls. Not saying that they don't, but the girls from Tinder just happen to be more easier to get on camera than than regular women. So that also is a part of it too. I think with the YouTubers that it does end up happening to. Wait, what does this say? I skipped something. Colombia gets a lot of visibility, but I agree that it happens a lot in Colombia. Fortunately, after 41 countries, I have never gotten drugged. I've been to El Salvador. President, I don't even know how to pronounce that. Bukele. By the way, I know Flyboy Way. Met him at a salsa club in Cali. He does some good. He does some good streams about the. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Port. Yeah, I'm not even going to try to slaughter that. Yeah, like I said, this was no shot at Flyboy Way. Like I said, he's going to move how he wants to move. And, if he feels like, he knows Tinder well enough to be able to keep meeting girls from there, then, more power to the brother. I just wish him safe passing, in his journeys when he does travel and he does partake in Tinder when he is here in Colombia. So let me read this last comment real quick. I'm familiar with El Salvador. Went there for an interview with an interview at a Bitcoin center in Berlin. That's what's up, man. All right. Well, this weekend this is what I have coming up. So Friday, I am going to be doing my first event at Dulcinea, which is it's the best nightclub here in Medellin, Colombia. And I am going to be putting all my work that I've been doing over these last couple weeks of building up contacts and contacting all these like really beautiful women through Instagram. And I mean, some of these women are what most guys would consider unreachable, girls who normally wouldn't respond to you. If you were to send them a message, let me pull up my Instagram real quick. Girls who normally wouldn't respond to you. Let's see, share IG. This is someone asking about, I don't know what that is. But As you see here, I got a bunch of messages that came in. This is all girls that I've reached out to as far as going to just different events, but right now it's more so for Dulcinea. I'm trying to show up with at least 10 girls. This first girl saying, no vivo in Medellin. I got to figure out where she lives at. But this weekend is going to be my first weekend of putting all this hard work into motion and slowly starting to build from there. I have another girl who is a friend of mine. She did a couple of videos with me. Once again, man, T-Mac, I want to say I appreciate you for the $10 Cash App. Let me see if I can. Oh, it's on this phone, my Colombian phone. But she had a couple girls that she sent me. She's like, oh, I want to bring a couple friends out. Let me see if I can get this up on screen. This is one of them. And she was like, I have another friend. I want to show her Instagram, but girl looks good to me. But and once again, I want to say, and of course, I'm going to be trying to do videos and stuff like that. I'm just trying to slowly graduate into trying to document all this stuff and get it into videos. But as I said on my stream last night, when I was talking about building social circle for any of the guys who wasn't in that live that are here now, I've had comments of guys just like, oh, well, you have to bribe these girls to come out or whatever. And I made the comment that no matter where you go in the world, if you want extremely beautiful women that have a lot of options to come out with you, you are going to have to give them some type of value in order for them to want to come out with you, or you're going to have to be the bigger, better deal. A lot of guys are, for some reason, in this space delusional. They think you are going to get out the most beautiful women to come out with you and not have to spend any money. It's just impossible. You have to be offering some type of value in order for these type of women to come out with you. So yes, maybe I host a dinner and I pay for the dinner, but as I said before, I'm paying for this dinner with the restaurant giving me a significant discount, maybe over 60% discount, and the girls are chipping in money as well. You probably didn't see it on the chat, but one of the girls, she's saying, how much do I have to pay? So I'm getting beautiful women that are coming out that are paying. They're paying something. Now, of course, they're not paying the full amount. I'm sponsoring the event. So yeah, I'm paying for a portion of it. But in the last video I did, or not last video, the last event that I have as a video where I was talking about building social circle, for 8 girls to come out, have a main course. They only had regular drinks, nothing alcoholic. I paid maybe $60. I've spent more than that just to go out with one girl on a date to one of these restaurants, or actually, matter of fact, even the same restaurant. I spent almost $100, if not more than $100, and it can add up very quick when girls are ordering cocktails and they want an appetizer and a main course and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm spending money, but I'm doing it in a way that is, it's not breaking the bank. It's less than what I would spend on a normal date. So, and the last time I went out, last Thursday, 2 girls came out. I ate, they ate, and I maybe had paid like $10. It was less than what I, would have spent for me to take out 2 girls. Now, those 2 girls that came out with me, they're like, oh, when are you going to do your next event? Or when are we going to go out again? What do you have coming up next? And I'm tying all this social circle stuff into this because I want to say that, guys are always asking, how do I meet normal women? And you building your social circle in some way is going to be the best way to do it. And let me pull this back up real quick. Share. See, like this first one here at the top, she's basically saying like how does the event go? Some of these I don't want to open just because I don't want to expose anybody's you know, Instagram. But this girl here, Valentina, beautiful girl, super beautiful. She's saying, see, Clado. What she's responding to is I asked her, hey, you know, if you don't have any plans this weekend, would you like to go to Dulcinea? Now, as I said before, you have to be someone that's offering a bigger, better deal. And with this whole building social circle thing, I'm taking a lot of what I used to do in Miami when I used to work at nightclubs. For those of you who don't know, I used to be a nightclub promoter in Miami back in, I want to say 2009 to like 2012 or 2013. Was it 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14? To 2014. It was about 5 years. I worked at all the major nightclubs there. Live is still around. A lot of the other clubs that I worked at the time are no longer there. Live may be the only one that has survived decades, you know, in Miami. But I worked Live, and essentially what I would see is that a lot of, or what I'd noticed as well too as a promoter, that you would just naturally make good relationships, and women are going to be the window to a lot of other things and opportunities because they know a lot of people, they know well-connected people. So I inspire you all to, you know, whatever country you go to, even if you don't want to stay here in Colombia, you can do some type of social circle building, throw events, leverage, you know, the women that are coming out to your event. And I guarantee you, and I'm going to predict this now, I'm going to show up to Dulcinea with a section. I don't know where they're going to put my section. Hopefully it isn't like in a corner by the bathroom, but you know, I'm going to be at a table. I'm going to try to get 10 girls, but even if I have 6 or 7 and they're all bad, they're like 9s or 10s, they're all baddies. I guarantee you, I'm going to get somebody, a guy that has some sort of status that's going to come up and want to talk to me, ask me. This girl is typing something now. Lucy, what is she typing? I'll look at that in a minute. But I'm going to get some guy that's going to come up or, you know, I'm going to get other girls that are going to be like, who the fuck is this guy that just has all these good looking women around? And one of the things too is that it doesn't matter if they're friends or not. I don't have to be having, you know, be dating any of the girls. As I said before in my other lives, that there is a such thing with women, which is called mate choice copying. Women want to date the type of guys that other women are dating that look like them. Why? I don't know. It's just an evolutionary psychology thing. But on 2, you have something called pre-selection, which I talked about in my live last night, where once women see that you're with other women, and most guys think, oh man, if I put pictures of me with girls and I used to be this way, I just, you know, I was reluctant to do it. I'm like, oh, it's going to hurt my opportunities with future girls if I have pictures of girls with me or if I post girls on my story. And you won't believe it does quite the opposite. It actually helps girls trust you more. Now, because what I'm doing here in Medellin is something I don't want to say it's brand new. I'm not going to say no one has never done this before, but there is some skepticism, obviously, with some girls because, you know, there isn't guys that are really inviting them out to dinners at one of the best restaurants here or some of the best restaurants here, inviting them out to clubs, and there is no expectation of nothing from them. Usually, you know, I've had girls that even like and my 2 female friends that I went out to with on my IRL on Monday, they were laughing because I'm like, yeah, I asked, you know, I would message random girls on Instagram and say, hey, I'm doing an event. Would love to invite you out if you know, don't have any plans. And the girl will respond back like, oh, no, thank you. I'm not a puta. You know, I'm not a prostitute. And I'm like, where the fuck did that come from? Like, I didn't say anything about being a prostitute. I'm just saying, hey, I'm trying to invite you out event. I work with these restaurants or whatever, you know? So yeah, there's some skepticism with it at first, but you know, it is, normal, and it's going to come with the territory of you're doing something new that maybe isn't normal. Now, I was planning on doing this in Pereira, but I stayed here in Medellin, and I didn't go to Pereira because I have contacts here already from other videos that I've done, like the best best restaurants in Medellin video. And I didn't want to have to go to Pereira and start all over again. And of course, yeah, I could go find out what the best restaurants are, go talk to them, try to work out a deal. And of course, I want to give a huge caveat to this, is that this is all going to be very dependent on you speaking at least decent conversational Spanish. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to be fluent, but you at least want to be conversational where you can talk and you don't have to pull out a translator. Now, also, you want to, I've said this before, you have to give in order to receive. So I'm not expecting any of these clubs to pay me or anything like that. I'm doing it because I'm trying to give first before I ask for anything in return. I mean, I'm getting something in return. One, I'm getting free entry with these girls into one of the best club, or I'm getting huge discounts at these restaurants. And what I'm giving them in return is, good looking girls that are going to come, have a good time, vibe, and not just be boring and be on their phone. But, it's offering, it's offering value to other people before you're just expecting something in return. Alcoholic drinks add up. I took my girl, sister-in-law, and mother-in-law for Mother's Day at Super Bowling. Oh man, that's all you gotta say. I can already imagine. And then Vigado, and it was almost $400. Next time, no more cocktails for them. I don't drink. Exactly. So that is the thing. Like, and one of the things too, I had a guy ask me in another live I did, he was like, what did the girls say when that you told them that they have to pay? Here in Colombia, there are not a lot of free things for women unless it's sponsored by some sugar daddy or some guy. They're going out with a group of guys and the guys are paying for it. But generally, if women want to go out on their own, for example, at Dulcinea or all these clubs, if girls aren't in by like 10:30, they got to pay cover. And Medellin is not really set up in a way where they're just so catering to women that they're more built around just getting women there and letting guys pay for everything else. They want their money. So girls pay cover here just like guys pay cover. Or, if they go with a group of guys, the guys will pay the cover for them. But girls pay here as well. So there isn't this, princess mentality like in the States where, if you tell a girl like, oh, she got to pay a cover to get in the club, they rather leave and go to a completely different club that may be worse than to pay the cover to get in the club, unless it is, a Live or insert whatever name here of whatever nightclub that is super, super popping and popular that they all want to go to. So, so this is something that anybody can do in any country. You can do it while you're in the States. You can, if you want to move to another country as apart from Medellin, Colombia, you can do it anywhere. You can do it in other parts of Colombia. Like I said, you may have to spend money, but the idea would be to work something out with the restaurants or whatever venues so you can get some huge discounts. So it's not too, it's not going to be something that you're spending too much for. And another thing is too, like, you want to take the lead. What I normally do is once I get in, for example, T-Mac, you probably saw the video. I went to the Super Bowling here in Laureles, the SB Archeo, I think is what it's called. And for 6 girls, this wasn't anything that was sponsored. I didn't get any discount on that. But for 6 girls and myself to go bowling, I paid about $150. And that was, I think it was on a weekend. Yeah, it was on a weekend. It would have been cheaper, obviously, on a weekday. But what I did is I told the waiter, I said, look, if anybody wants to order anything, you come to me first and let me know what it is that they want to order. But they can have only soda water or jugos, juices, nothing else. And I ordered the food for them. I basically was like, it's going to be pizza and tacos, and that's it. And they all split that. It was something that I made clear ahead of time that it was going to be just like a finger food thing. Everybody wasn't going to come and get no like main entree. None of the girls for that event paid anything. It was just because I was just starting off and I was trying to get my first group of core girls to come out and, get to know me, get more comfortable with me so I could build rapport with them and then start essentially stacking them and moving them to other events that I start doing, like the dinners or whatever else. So, so yeah, that's essentially how it all started. How old are you? To answer your question, I'm 41. I'll be 42 this year in September. So if you want to throw your boy an early birthday gift, I got the Cashapp up there. But yeah, that's it, guys. I'm a jump off this live. Hopefully you found it entertaining. Hopefully you found it informative. I need to get something to eat. I need to get back to these DMs and start responding to some of these girls and set up my event for tomorrow, and then also set it up for Friday. So, I got some work to do. But as always, I do appreciate everybody. I think 35 people. This is the most people I've ever had in a live. Normally, I don't do lives in the middle of the day, but lately they have been kind of random. They haven't been very planned. I've gotten more of an audience that way than trying to plan them out and do something kind of regularly on a, like a Sunday or something like that. I didn't even, to be honest with you, I didn't know what to expect from this live, being that it started at 12 noon. I figured everybody got jobs, but apparently everybody, all 35 of you MFers or that are here are all millionaires and able to just chill and hang out for an hour or hour and a half in the middle of the day. But that's cool, man. That's what I like to see. I like to see people that got the time to be able to chill, whether you watching this from work or whatever, you just got this on in the background and you just listening to it. I appreciate everybody's attendance, everybody being here, and I appreciate all you guys' comments, supports, donations, anything that you contribute to the channel. All of this is motivation to keep me coming back and doing these lives and doing the content that I'm doing. Because as I've said many times before, it does get discouraging when you do not see the views for the amount of effort and time that goes into making some of this content, for you guys. Now, of course, I'm not looking to make a living from YouTube. Ideally, it would be great because I love to create videos and, create things that are helpful for people and informative. But, it's good to see some type of, I don't want to necessarily say compensation. That's for the lack of a better word. But it's good to see, at least something coming back from your efforts that you're putting into everything. So, I appreciate all you guys, and I will see you guys in the next one. I'm about to take the $10 T-Mac gave me and go get some lunch. So I appreciate you all, man. And like I said, I'm gonna leave this live up. So for anybody that came late, if you missed the beginning of it, you'll be able to go back and catch it from the beginning. Appreciate you all, man, and peace.